What is up, everybody? How is everybody doing? This is the Daily HiFi podcast. Welcome to all, and to all, a big welcome. My name is Chana, and with me, as always, we've got Mike, Joe, and Aaron. I've no idea what I'm saying.
I was wondering where that was going.
I was like, man, this is Christmas. Awesome.
What is up, everybody? What's going on?
Doing good, man. Doing
How's it
super
going?
good.
We got
Chana looks like a
Kansas now.
pimp. He looks like a pimp.
You know what? It was so funny in the backstage. They're like, dude, you got the hamburger meat hanging out and all this. And I ran upstairs to get
That means chest hair, by the way.
yes, that's yeah.
I've
and
never
then,
heard of that. I didn't know what that was.
Oh, really?
Hamburger meat. Really? That's chest hair?
Yeah, I got that from a movie somewhere. I can't remember. I feel like it's Tyrese. I think it was like Tyrese from Fast and the Furious. I think I'm putting it together now.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Too fast.
Maybe I can see that.
I learned all kinds of useless information on this show.
Great, isn't it?
We are full of useless information. I went upstairs to grab a water, and my wife's like, "You're buttoning up your shirt, aren't you?" It's like I don't want to see that. Nobody else does.
That's funny.
Those old Fast and Furious movies make me laugh. I actually watched the first one, and just like some of the lines are just hilariously bad. Like when Paul Walker is just like, "Hey, what's up, cuz?"
Intentional.
I'm like, "No,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
it doesn't." Mm-mm.
The second one.
No.
Yeah, I just Googled it. That was from the second one.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just like every once in a while I'll come across like I'll remember that scene in my head, but I can't remember what it's from, or I remember that saying in my head. But so now I know.
There
Yeah.
it is.
Meat, hamburger meat.
Somebody said in the previous one that I said right too much. I say right too much. Yeah, like right. So, yeah, I have to be conscious of that. I don't want to say right all the time. I don't want to be a robot. I don't want to be predictable.
Wrong. I was totally wrong this weekend.
Press is
Is
wrong.
that right? Tell me about
Is
it.
that right?
Oh.
See, you said it again.
Is that right? Yeah.
Oh, come on, Joe. Oh.
You got my my weak spot.
Yeah. So, all right, let's just jump in.
Go.
Here's my topic for today, and it's pretty much opposite of, so my mom always used to say, when you're buying something, buy the best thing that you can afford, right? And hanging out with Joe and Mike, they're always like, dude, man, you spend a lot of money, man. Maybe you should scale it back a little bit. Scale it back, right? Yeah, I know. Aaron, you took my job. Awesome. Yes, I'll break into some gummy bears soon, and I got an egg roll and all kinds of weird stuff.
IEMs too. He has IEMs now, right?
Oh yeah, he does.
Right.
That's right.
Gonna get my rights out of the way.
Is that right, Joe?
Is that right?
You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. There's a little bit of a delay, and so I'm always confirming what's the delay? How much I'm checking. If it's in person, I don't say, hey, what's up, right? I'm trying.
Yeah. You're saying
It's more of an online, a Zoom thing. I blame the pandemic.
over.
Over. Roger.
Over.
There.
That's right.
10-4. Okay.
So I was, so I had a wedding on Friday, right? Okay. Oh, thank you, Tristan. It's the Triceratops, shirt. Anyway, and I love the first wedding of the season because it gives me a few opportunities. One, to have fun. Second is I get to see any kind of glaring weaknesses in my setup, right? Sure. Now, I could say like at the very first, screw Yamaha, but I think screw Denon DJ is probably the problem is with the Denon DJ equipment, right? If I have the Big Daddy equipment, like the big mixer that costs like $1,200, and I have the portable $1,600 thing, the portable one, the big difference is the portable one and the Big Daddy setup. The Big Daddy setup costs more, but wireless microphones work with the Big Daddy setup. Wireless microphones don't work with the travel setups, the ones that actually need the wireless microphones.
Right.
This is pretty ass backwards, right? Pioneer
Wrong.
DJ systems also. So what I have to do is, I'm the MC, there's speeches, all this stuff. So I need wireless microphones. So what I needed to do is get a small sub mixer, right? Something small, 4-channel, 3-channel. So I got the XLR going out from the DJ thing into there, into channel 1 and 2, and then from my wireless microphone system going out into that mixer, and then boom, 2 XLRs to the PAs, right? everything was fine. I set it up. It arrived. I got a Yamaha one, because I wanted to save $100. Normally, I would go with a Mackie mixer, right?
Okay.
So
Yamaha instead of Mackie to save $100.
Correct. When Yamaha instead of Mackie. I have a Mackie, but it's 12 channels, so it's like this wide, right? I have a 16 channel Tascam over here. Huge. I need something small, compact on my desk because I got laptop, I got the wireless receiver, I got the DJ control. Everything needs to be like small. So halfway through dinner, I walk outside because I put a speaker outside as well. So I got 3 PAs and all kinds of other stuff. I go outside and there's no music outside. I'm like, what the hell? So I'm like, did somebody unplug my speaker? I'm like, no, speaker's plugged in. Is power going to it? Okay, I'm checking my patch line. I'm checking my power lines. Oh, everything looks good. I go into, so that outside speaker is daisy chained off the left speaker that's on the inside. Left speaker on the inside, also not working. What's going on? Power's on. Check my cables. Looking around, I went back to the back of my desk and I was just like, what could it be? What could it be? And then I looked at the mixer and I was like, maybe you. And so what I ended up finding out is the whole, either the left output died or the left input died. And so I was just like, oh, let me try this. Let me just get the mixer out of the way. I'll unplug the left input, unplug the left output. Boom, plug them in together, because they're XLR, so they can easily plug in together. Boom, I'm getting sound out that. So the whole entire left side died halfway through the first gig. Right. I got it on Wednesday. I tested it out Wednesday night, and then Friday, it shits the bed. And so now with the wedding, when they're paying for a videographer, I gotta text you, Mike. You got to get this rig for Cedia, dude. This guy had this thing all on his back, and it was like, hey,
man, I've seen some crazy stuff.
Yeah, like a stabilizer type of thing for the camera.
He had a red 5K camera, and then the other guy doing the B-roll had what is it called, an A1 or an Alpha 1, and it was some crazy stuff. But they charge like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And so they also tap into the audio because of the speeches and all this other stuff.
Sure.
So there was a point, like, I got things figured out, and then there was a point where we had to do speeches, and then he could hear me on his headphones, but the crowd couldn't hear me. So I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Okay, boom, 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 done. Hello, test. Oh, awesome. So good. which is also why I charged $3,000, because when things shit the bed,
you have backups.
You need to know what to do to make sure, whatever needs to happen is happening, right? So
you can troubleshoot.
Right. Exactly. And not like troubleshoot, take half an hour to troubleshoot.
On the fly, fix it. Let's keep
half
going.
a minute.
Better be quick. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, so basically, I tried to save $100 by buying this Yamaha instead of the Mackie, and it backfired on me. And it goes back to like my mom saying, if you're gonna buy something, buy the best thing that you can, because chances are you're gonna end up buying like 5 of the cheap ones as opposed to one of the good ones. So I ordered. Saturday comes around, I called up Downs. I'm like, hey man, I need to return this stupid Yamaha mixer. It shit the bed last night at a gig, and I've had it for 2 days. And he's like, okay, what happened? And I told him what happened. He's like, oh, well, that sucks. I'm like, thanks. Sign me up with that Mackie, please.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, it was crazy. And I tried to be like Joe and Mike. I tried to save some money. Like, do I really need to spend this extra $100? I know Joe and Mike would be like,
a room sounding like a canyon. Yes. Yes. This is the untreated room.
That's right.
Yes.
But it looks cool.
It looks cool.
Like a canyon from like
it's probably causing all the issues. Yeah.
Anyway, so the moral of the story is pay that extra dough. Sometimes it is just worth it to not have the headache of whatever could happen. And especially in a like high stress environment, like me having to do with all the balls in the air for this wedding.
You can't really afford to have like stuff not work properly. And
right.
So, it's kind of crucial for you. When you've got something that's non-essential, maybe you can cut some corners. Now, I'm one of those guys. I typically don't buy the cheapest. But I don't like buying the most expensive. So I'm kind of like right in the middle. So that doesn't always work out either.
Well, I mean, I could have gotten bare bones cheap and gotten a Behringer for $50, right? I spent the extra $50 to get the Yamaha because I thought that would be a nice middle ground.
I probably would have done the same thing then.
Yeah.
it's when it comes. So I don't try to buy the cheapest. We joke around, but
No,
the
you
truth
can't.
is, I try to find the right tool for the job. So if it's critical and you're getting paid and it's a wedding
Right.
situation,
Yeah.
you're gonna get. You should
Pony
get the
up.
most reliable one.
Yeah, pony
Yep.
up.
Now, if there's the most reliable one, and then there's one that's a little bit extra because it has gold on it and something, I'm like, okay, forget that.
Frills.
That's not necessary because
Yeah.
it looks a little bit shinier, So it's the right tool for the job, I think, is what's important, not necessarily how much. It's so when I spend, it's not so much about which one's the most expensive or the least expensive. It's which one's the best.
Yeah.
Regardless of the price, which one is the best for me? And so now when you have two of them that are about the same, they do the same things, and one's more expensive, one's less expensive, and the reliability and everything's the same.
Equal, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
now you're wondering, what are you paying for? Am I paying?
yeah, for the name,
Right.
Are you
Because
paying
if it's
for
just the name, then
reputation?
I don't care. I don't care what other people think about
Right.
so and so.
Who has AOL Messenger?
It's this.
It's not me.
What is
but
this?
What?
It's let me quit this iMessage.
Croissant says it best here. But if
He
you
always
have
says it best. He needs to be on here actually, because Michael
Yes.
recommended that we have
some of the patrons on here.
our patrons
Yeah,
on,
I think it'd be fun.
I nominate Croissant because he's always has good sayings.
Yeah,
So
we
what did
should
you say?
have you on next week.
Croson, Paul, if you're going to be available next week, man, hit us up.
Yeah.
Be glad
So,
to, glad to
so
have
he
you on.
says,
It'll be
if you
fun.
have multiple hobbies, you still need to weigh what's the most effective or important to yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. And Angela agrees as well.
I disagree. I think that's nonsense.
You're the tool for the job.
Says the guy who spent 100 G's on a.
I know it.
Hold on
Whirlpool.
now. Hold on now. We're getting personal now.
And I've got a
What are we talking about?
$24 Odyssey mic.
All right. Well, I'll see y'all later.
Mike, what you were saying is like earlier. I'm actually waiting, and this is why I charge so much. I'm waiting for something to mess up, and because I've got 3 backups of everything.
Right.
You should see how many XLR cables I have. I've got six
I
10-foot,
completely
2 5-foot,
believe you.
4 15-foot, 2 30-foots, 2 50-foots, and a 100-foot.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Generator if I need it. And you know what's funny is like I DJ'd a friend's a daughter's wedding, right? So I gave him a little discount or whatever. It was at the end of the year, like late October. And all throughout summer, I've been getting audio dropouts with my laptop and my controller. This is before I switched to the Denon setup. And it during cocktail hour, it's playing, and all of a sudden I hear the music stop for 3 seconds, play for 5 seconds, stop for 10 seconds, play for 20 seconds, stop for I'm like, what is going on? So I ran everything off my iPad, right, which just has a song. It's not going to fail. It's iPad's piped in, dongle to 3.5 millimeter to RCA coming in on channel 4. And during their couple's first dance, I decided, okay, let me just try the laptop and controller system. And I had a live backup ready to go. And it was halfway through, the couple's dancing, halfway through the song, I see a stutter on the screen, and I just crossfaded it over. They didn't know what happened, but the music stopped on the computer. And so during dinner for a whole hour, I'm like, okay, how am I going to DJ the party when this DJ software is not working? So I literally downloaded some random free DJ software online. And in that hour, I figured out how to use it.
That's funny.
And while they were having a blast, I'm freaking out, fully composed, obviously.
Yeah.
Stressing on the inside.
Exactly. And I rocked that party, and they had no idea. And I actually just told my buddy, like, on a Memorial weekend, because he hired me for the for the restaurant gig that weekend. So he's like, really? And his whole family was there. I'm like, yeah, you guys were having fun. I was freaking out this whole time. And they're like, we had no idea. And I was like, yeah,
Well, that's right, because I'm good.
that's what I'm a pro.
To counter what you're saying, though, just because you pay the most or buy the best doesn't always guarantee that it works perfectly either.
True.
There's expensive
It could be.
stuff. You got the best thing, and it sometimes just messes up too.
Yeah.
So
I totally could understand that this Yamaha that I got was just a fluke. Like it could totally just been a defective unit. But now I don't want to risk it.
You don't want to give it a
think
try again.
I think what you're saying is if you could pay a little bit more and not have that possibility or lessen the
worry.
possibility that it's going to mess up,
Right.
pay the extra. It's worth the $100.
Paying for peace of
And
mind.
like what's funny is like I used to roll around with a $2,000 controller. The thing was huge. And I also had an $80 one in my bag that was this big. That just in case that thing breaks, the $80 one, I can rock a party with it. It won't be the best, but I could still do it. And that just it's one of those things. Anyway, that was my story. That was my topic for today. Pay the extra dough because sometimes that might just be the best way to go about it.
That's professional though.
Here's a quick follow up to that. What do you guys think? So this should be a good topic. What's the point, let's say for bookshelf speakers, where you're not getting that much more? Right?
Oh,
A point of diminishing return.
I don't want to say that. I should say
dude, that was one of my questions I was thinking about asking. I was like, I feel like we've talked about this before, but yes,
we probably
maybe I was inspired by your video. One of you guys, I watched one of your ELAC videos. I can't remember which one of you had me thinking like, at what point do you even worry about getting a floor standard? Just go with the good.
I think Joe was talking about the difference between the two. I mean, I only had the towers, so like I was like, damn, I wish this thing had 6.5-inch drivers in it.
Right.
But other than that, and that's what the bookshelf has.
Yeah.
So Snoots is saying $2,000 bookshelves here.
2,000.
Yeah.
Because typically I'll say I think this speaker is worth it or not worth it, or this is too expensive. And then I realize everybody has a different budget. What somebody else might think is expensive is it's so different. So it's hard to judge based on just that.
Yeah, I typically don't like people ask me, they're like, hey, is this speaker worth it? And like you said, I tend to not answer that question because I can't answer that for you. I can tell you, is it worth it to my checkbook and to my debit card? But I can't, I can't say that for Chana. I mean, I can't say that for you or Aaron or anybody else.
It's just tough. It's tough when it comes to speakers because it's almost limitless how expensive it can get.
Correct.
So if you went based on what you said, Chana, of paying for the best one, well, you're going to be paying millions at some point.
We're talking like 4 to 6 channel mixer, so it's always going to be something small. So it depends on like that application, right? So if you're looking for desktop speakers, sure, you could probably spend thousands of dollars, but you're going to be like, well, I don't want you might limit yourself. Even though you could afford it, you might limit yourself to like, I only want to spend $500 on these or $250 or $300 or whatever.
I've seen like $16,000 bookshelf speakers at trade shows. And I'm like, they sound great, but not that great, So
not that great.
Where, for my budget, no, thank you. But there are some guys out there. For them to spend $16,000 might be like me spending $160. It's like, okay, no big deal.
Look at Reginald, price no object.
Literally. Yeah.
He's gonna have the $16,000 bookshelves.
It's good to have you as a patron, Reginald.
Yeah. Yes.
So, well, let's keep it to passive speakers too, because I see Aaron thinking about those Dutch and Dutch 8Cs.
Oh yeah,
and those have a bunch of technology. And
those are
kind of like, I get why those are so expensive. You have a computer in there.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
But a straight up and think about this. Sometimes I think you're not just paying for the components. I mean, granted, there are times where they're using the more expensive beryllium tweeters, or they're using kind of some more costly woofer material and such. Maybe a fancy finish, but sometimes it's literally cosmetic, and it's the design. I know, thinking back to when we had Sonus Faber on the HiFi Summit, that opened my eyes like big time, kind of their process when they go to designing a speaker, and it's handmade, so you're paying for that too. So sometimes it's not just performance. Sometimes it's for the name. Sometimes it's for the design philosophy behind it,
right?
And how it's going to look in your living room or your home theater.
Yeah, because at some point it's furniture too.
Absolutely, absolutely. You got to look at this every day, and so
there you go.
In a way, it's like art, and what I thought was pretty cool is they mentioned that a lot of times they get their inspiration from like these exotic boats, and that's why they have that round, is it curvature? I don't know if it's curvature, but basically that round back end. That's
Right.
funny.
There he is. Chana's not on point.
No,
He
he
missed
missed
that. He missed it.
Man. I know it.
Yeah.
There you go.
He said that round bottom end. Or something.
I forgot where I left my cart, and I left it at my buddy just texted me. He's like, "Hey, is this yours?" I'm like, "Oh, thank goodness." You know that $60 cart, Joe, is now $100.
Yeah, I love that cart.
It's $100 now. I ordered another one. I'm like, where did I leave this shit? I got to order another one. So I ordered it. Now I can return it and get my $100 back.
We're talking about this cart that we use for trade shows where you wheel around all of your video gear.
I've been looking at them online because I don't know what to get yet, but I know I'm thinking, man, I told Jessica, I said, I've got to kind of put everything in the.
Well, see, here's the thing, Mike.
What I need to carry.
It was a lot easier for me to bring the cart because I drove to Vegas, right? And then we would empty out the cart just leave the cart loaded up and just pull it out of the trunk. Whereas like you're walking in like 10 minutes on surface streets downtown Cincinnati. Like, is a cart better, or is it just better to just do backpack and one thing in your hand?
Yeah.
You know, that's.
I saw some there's like a lighting kit. It's basically just for lighting, but it's like a tall kind of square or like rectangular bag. So with wheels.
I like how we're just talking as if nobody's watching.
Yeah,
we're all talking about our video stuff.
I know. That's a part of what we
That's
do.
how we roll.
That's a part of what we do. So
So what's that number for passive speakers? I feel like 2000, around 2000. It gets weird after that.
I don't know. Like, so to me, the big difference in passive versus floor standing is simply just SPL. Like, how loud do you want to get? I think, because in the SPL or the floor stander buys you more surface area for woofers. That allows you to get the bass and, the higher sensitivity, because then you have baffle step. So you don't lose as much SPL when you have the additional woofers to help compensate for the baffle step loss. And then just overall SPL levels in general. I mean, can your speakers handle that? Probably not out of just a single 6.5-inch woofer, but if you've got 5 or 6 of those bad boys, then different ball game altogether. But then that's the other thing is like, I mean, I've been listening to a lot of different stuff this past weekend. Sound bars, active speakers. I just hooked up these DIY Sound Group 1099s. This thing's ridiculous. They got to 110. I got to send you guys this picture.
Yeah.
I got to 110 dB in my living room at 4 meters.
Not breaking a sweat.
And without breaking a sweat. I mean, it was, and I had hearing protection on. I was like, this is ridiculous. So I played around with a lot of stuff this weekend, and it's like, I like one thing about this, and I don't like this thing, and I like this other thing. And it's just like, I don't think there's ever going to be the perfect speaker without you really paying up, Yeah. But somebody asked about that KEF R3, and I really like that. But then even that wasn't without its faults. I mean, there's a certain max SPL level that it would hit. You definitely needed a subwoofer for it.
Yep.
So it did a lot of great things in soundstage, but
I had the R300, the previous generation, exactly the same issues. I look gorgeous looking speaker, man.
Right. Yeah.
Lot of cool features, good size to it. It needed a subwoofer. It needed a subwoofer for anything. And when I review bookshelf speakers, I run those things full range, and I put a shit ton of power into them too. Yeah. So it's, they're getting, almost like 400 watts. If they're 4 ohm, they're getting 400 watts. If they're 8 ohm, they're getting probably 200-300 or something like that. But yeah, it's a tough one. Like what you were saying, when they have multiple drivers, they have more surface areas, right? So they're moving more air. So physics is definitely in play. It's just like having a subwoofer. And what's funny is when I actually used to have 3-way PAs, right? 15-inch, 6-inch, and this whatever horn 1-inch situation. But they were huge, and they were made of all wood cabinets. Now the ones I use, except for the subwoofer is still a wooden cabinet. They use that, I don't know, ABS something or other, whatever QSC uses.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about, to make them lighter and portable and all that.
Correct, built-in handles and all that stuff.
A hole in it or something.
Right. Honestly, like that setup as opposed to the taller PAs is just better. It's more versatile, right? Like I had a dual 12 bandpass subwoofer, 1,000-watt RMS. Now I've moved to an 18-inch subwoofer that's what is 3600 peak, 1800 RMS, and I couldn't do that if I had those big towers. You know, there was no use to bring all of that equipment. So I guess it depends on your application, really, which is better for you and your setup and your space. I mean, the 2 towers would have been great with the 18-inch sub. Whoops, sorry. I smacked a speaker.
He said sorry to the speaker.
Apologizing to the speaker.
Somebody.
Sorry. So yeah, you know, it's one of those things. I think there's definitely pluses and minuses for both. Joe in his video says, look, you're gonna have to put that thing on a stand, so you might as well go with the floor stander. But they're usually double the price, right? Like usually it's like $500 for the pair, and then it's like $1,000 for, you know, each tower or something like that, right?
And then you're probably still going to need about a subwoofer.
Yeah, so Paul asked that exact question. He's like, you know, okay, in talking about a bookshelf versus a floor standing speaker, if they've got the exact same tweeter, the exact same mid range, exact same drivers, crossovers, possibly, you know, what are we paying for? You know,
other than
the additional wood.
I have a theory on that.
Go for it.
So typically floor standers, you have 3 base drivers or more, you know, less, more, 2 more drivers. Sure. And then your crossover, you're going to have more components for that. You're talking about more wood, right? So bigger enclosure. And then I'm wondering if they're building shipping into that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Those are way heavier and way bigger. And so think about how much more storage space. If you're a manufacturer, you have to have a bigger warehouse. So all these things kind of add up.
Add up.
So double the cost. Like these ELACs, bookshelves are $1,000 for the pair. And then the floor standers are $1,000 each. And sound-wise, I'll go bookshelf all day.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. I'm not saying the floor standers sound bad, but if you're paying double the price,
and then
I would spend it somewhere else.
10-inch subwoofer for $500.
There it is.
Dude, that's even what I said in the video. I'm like, you pair these towers with a 10-inch sub. I'm like, well,
I think for most people
now you're in for it for $2,500.
So that was so back to the original, not the official question, but the original question of where's the point of diminishing returns. The question that I have is how much different are the drivers? A lot of times you'll see these high-end speakers and you're like, I know which drivers those are. I saw some other speakers the other day. I think they were $10,000, and they were the same Tang Band woofers that I used in a DIY project that I did.
So
I know. Yeah. I'm like, I know those. Those are. I know the price of those speakers. I know all of the components on here. Why are they so expensive?
Yeah, right.
So it's not like you're paying 20 G's and the technology of the speaker is so different. It's not even the same motor structure. They're using some advanced technology. It's like, no, same magnet, coil, cone, and this is old technology.
And sometimes companies will go to these build houses like ScanSpeak, and they'll have them design them a specific speaker. You know, they'll take something they have on the shelf and they'll tweak it for their needs. I mean, that's normal. But then there are other companies that don't do that at all. They'll just get something off the shelf. Like you and I could go to Parts Express right now and order the same parts.
Well, you look at the drivers. So Morel drivers, much more expensive. And you've done driver testing. So you've seen what the difference is between the very expensive stuff and the medium and the not so expensive. How much of a difference would you say you see when you've done those measurements, Aaron?
Well, I mean, so if you ignore the ones that are expensive and they shouldn't be, if you just kind of toss those out, because I've tested a fair share of those. A lot of those are Car Audio branded, and they may be like, for example, $800 for a pair of 8-inch woofers, like mid bass, not subwoofers, and they don't perform any better than something that's $100 a pair, and that's the truth. But to me, kind of the breaking point seems to be around the $300 mark. And then that's where the diminishing return starts to take over. If I'm talking about like a 6 or 7-inch woofer, that's when you get out of that Dayton audio. You start getting into the ScanSpeak technology with, a lot of solid engineering behind it. But then you got to say, is it worth it for me to pay over twice as much more money for a driver the same size And then it depends on how you're using it. I mean, because a lot of times what you're paying for is more excursion with lower distortion. And if you don't need that excursion, like say if you're trying to build a bookshelf speaker, you may not need it to go down to 60 hertz. If 100 hertz is fine, you're going to put a subwoofer with it and you're fine. Why pay $300 for a pair of woofers when you could pay $100?
So would it be safe to say you're paying for linearity?
Yeah, you're
more
paying
accurate
for
response,
more accurate response at higher volume. That's really where the breaking point is, in my opinion, for drivers and speakers in general. Is
power handling,
just being able to provide you with more output without bottoming out mechanically or having a lot of distortion or thermal compression where you're turning the volume up, but it's actually not getting louder, all those kind of things.
And I think you have to make sure that you're comparing, like, not every bookshelf speaker versus a floor standing speaker are going to be kind of comparable. Like Ian mentioned, he said he kind of thinks that his Klipsch RP 500Ms, which that's from the Reference Premier series, which is actually a higher tier than their entry level R, which is the Reference series, the 620F, the F being floor standing. So you're kind of comparing a lower end floor standing to a higher end bookshelf. And so that might be why you like the bookshelf sound better, because they have a more of a refined tweeter and just probably have better components in that. So kind of to be fair, you would need to compare that with maybe the RP
8000F. Or wait,
yeah,
no, that would be the 280F.
Yeah, something like that. Something
260F would be the at that whatever juncture. 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
So it's hard not to mention the ELAC Unifi reference because all the videos came out this morning. I have mine, Chana. Hopefully, Aaron, I want to see
Tristan.
yours. And Michael, hopefully they send it to you. I like these speakers a lot.
Did you guys see my intro?
I didn't even
Yeah, the 3, 1, 2, 3.
Did you see the little puppy? Dude, she totally acted it out. Like she looked at the logo and then looked up at it. Like it was like obviously I could have planned that.
What's an ELAC?
Yeah. I was just like, what's that? Because the dogs were enamored by the little turntable. They were like kind of like checking it out. They're like, what's this thing?
Have you tried putting one of the dogs on it?
Yeah,
turn it on.
Oh no,
that'd be a cute video.
I'll try that. Yeah, for sure. And I know, I tossed those doggy pics in there or video clips for Tristan because I know everybody likes to see the pups. But yeah, man, I think it's a good speaker. I think for $2,000 a pair, I think there's a lot of competition in that price.
That's rough for that price, right?
Yeah.
That's what I try to avoid saying is they do what they're supposed to do. It's just, I don't know. I might look around at that price, but for the bookshelf, you don't have the bookshelves, right?
Bookshelf. Yeah, no, I don't.
$1,000 for a pair, and I A/B'd them right back to back, and I'm like, I kind of like the bookshelf better. Yeah,
and I know, like,
on there.
I know I'm used to hearing like 8-inch tweeter, or sorry, 8-inch woofers, and then like I had the RF73s, like 10-inch woofers in the living room, and going down to the Focal Aria 926, which have two 6.5-inch woofers. I wasn't missing the 8-inch, but then when I went to these, like I was missing the 6.5s when I went to the ELACs.
Yeah, I can get with that.
So.
Yeah, I think
and you took all the measurements. We didn't talk about it at all, and I'm like, I wonder what Joe thought about these. And I'm like, oh my god, it's almost the exact same thing we said. Like if you pair these with the sub,
yeah,
it was like the same thing.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I think it's just when I think ELAC, I used to think the small speakers that have way more bass than you would expect, and right now I'm getting the amount of bass that I would expect. It's not like it's less. It's just
not impressive.
It's you see 3, 5 1/4. You're like, how is that going to sound? And it sounds like that.
Yeah.
All right. Whereas before, I said right again, the UB5, original UB5 was 1 5 1/4, and you're hearing lower bass, and I think you can see that in the measurements. I'm going to do another video where I go more in depth, and the measurements say the same thing is what I experienced.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Where are we? Do I have
Reginald are saying floor standing. Go floor standing.
Floor standing. He in all caps too. He's not messing around. He's on one today.
Jesus.
Reggie had his coffee today. Don't you gotta watch out.
Those 8Cs have probably put a hole in just about any floor standard out there, though. I will say that.
What
those
is it?
8Cs?
Those
They
things
look
are not
crazy.
kidding.
Yeah. I don't know.
So going back to what you guys were talking about, and I struggle with this. It's for me, it's always easier to dissect a poor performing speaker and to say don't buy this. But when it's a good, speaker, unless it's like just a really standout. But if it's a good speaker, and it has its pros and cons, it's tough. You're like, well, what do you want me to do?
Right.
I mean, as far as not any, the audience, like I know you're probably wanting me to tell you, yes, buy this, or no, don't buy this. But for me, it's like, if it's something you're interested in, then I suggest you pursue it, order it, go demo it, something, try to get it in your house and listen to it. And then you make the assessment. I think it's worth doing that. But as far as, saying absolutely one way or the other, I can't tell you that. And that's always, those are the tough reviews to do.
It's so easy when it's a good speaker, though.
Yeah. Well,
it's just, I don't even have to say anything bad. I just they do what they're supposed to do. The frequency response reflects that.
Oh yeah.
I like it. It's just it looks good.
As far as like trying to come up with content. As far as trying to come up with content, for me, it's harder to do that when the speaker is good. It's so much easier when a speaker is not good and it has problems, because you can say, all right, this, all bad things. I don't like it. Don't buy it. It's just so much easier to do that. And I think it's kind of sad, but like those JBL 305Ps, I think they're $150 a piece and everybody loves them. And I don't know if there's a QC issue, but I reviewed them and the front baffle resonates and it's aggravating. Like I got near field to them. I was like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like personally offended when I get a speaker that I think it's supposed to be great.
Right.
And it's not. I'm like
I
really?
just wasted my time.
Like everybody says, what are you guys listening to out there? But actually I went and did some digging around, and I found other people. One guy had actually ripped the front baffle off and put like foam and all sorts of stuff inside of it to try to like keep it from resonating. So I said, well, it must be a QC issue.
Yeah.
What you're reminding me of when you're saying that it's hard to say, review something that's not so good. It reminds me if you were to set somebody up on a date with somebody, and let's say the guy doesn't like the girl too much because maybe he doesn't like their looks, or you don't want to be rude, and you're like, so what do you think? Oh shit! Great personality. Great personality.
That's right.
Has a nice smile. You're like, but then if you get home and you talk on the phone, like, so what do you think? Oh, are you crazy, man? Did you see her teeth? Like you start getting into it, right? So like all the details. Did you see that mole?
Did you see that mole? It's right at the tip of her nose. I couldn't stop staring at it. Wanted to cut it off and make some guacamole.
That's what it reminds me of. So, I don't know which one. Huh?
He just rim shotted himself.
I know he did.
It was from Austin Powers. I don't know.
Yeah.
So here's a good question that I was experiencing.
Yes.
So what breaks in your speakers, your ears, or both? And the reason for this question is when these ELACs first came in. Of course, I hooked them up, and I'm like, sound kind of boring.
Not like your voice. Jonesy says that your voice is deep and chocolatey in the theater.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm trying to reduce this echo in this room. If I speak quieter and closer, it'll help out. Hello. Yeah. So I put them on, and I was, these sound kind of boring. Right? And then I listened for a few days, and I'm like, oh, it's starting to sound better, sounding better. Now, what's really happening? Is it the speakers are breaking in? Because I bet you that if I measure them before and after, it's going to measure the same.
I agree.
Right? So what I think is happening is I'm getting used to the sound. Compared to what was hooked up before, those have a different frequency response. And what I said in the video, I'm still getting used to this room. So what do you guys think? Is it your speakers, your ears? Yeah. What's happening here?
I've never really been a big fan of break-in, and sometimes even the factory, they will quote break them in anyway. Like they're gonna, just for whatever. I mean, they'll play them for X amount of hours before they even package them up. So, and I don't know if that's for everybody, but I know I've had brands mention to me before they even sent them to me. They said, "Hey, we put 100 hours on them already." I'm like,
Okay.
okay. That's
What they really mean is we check them to make sure that these are the best sounding ones that we have.
Exactly.
Yeah, they want to cherry pick that shit.
Maybe that's all it
Like,
was. And so it may not happen with all of them, but I've never had any speaker brand new out of the box and a week later or 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later say, man, these are better than what I remember. You know, I've just never done that. So
I don't think I've ever done that either. I don't really get into the speaker break-in. I mean, I believe that it is possible well, it's not possible. Like some speakers physically will break in a little bit over time, but I think if you have a speaker that takes like days,
Hours and
weeks to break in,
hours.
then that's an issue. That's a
you got a
quality control issue.
crappy speaker.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah.
opinion. Now I think there possibly could be a little bit of break in with a subwoofer. Just
Or
kind of
woofers. Woofers in
you know
general.
what I'm saying? Yeah,
Yeah, woofers,
I'm
anything that has a big spider on it, because they have to impregnate, the spiders with some resin, to stiffen them up or anything like that. And so as they break in, I think that resin can kind of break up. And you can change the parameters. I mean, you can physically measure them.
Look at Shauna.
Honestly, still going
He's stuck on the
igniters? What are we
Yeah.
talking about here?
It's impregnate those
Crazy
spiders.
stuff is happening in
Why
Alabama.
don't you just hit your speaker and apologize, okay?
I'm impregnable.
Impregnable.
Impregnate.
You remember when Tyson said that, Mike Tyson? I'm impregnable. Anyway,
No.
yeah, he said that. So you've actually measured that. You've measured the difference with drivers, and you've even mentioned sometimes when it's cold, it affects
Yeah,
the measurements.
absolutely.
So there are
Yeah.
things that can affect the sound.
Yes, there are. But I think at some point though, it's as far as like measurements and physical properties of things, I think they kind of wash out. It's a net loss or a net break even, I guess, in the end. So I would not worry about breaking a speaker in for 20 weeks before it's going to sound good.
20 weeks? What?
I just crazy. You should see some of the stuff that people say. Well, it's 500 hours. I'm like somebody broke down, I think one time where this company had a break-in period that was almost longer than the warranty period. I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It was like,
to wonder.
well, well for them.
What are these people talking about?
I knew Reggie was going to be up on this on all caps. He's killing it today. Reggie says,
I think his keyboard's
he says
broken
speakers are mechanical. They need break-in.
Makers.
tonight.
I had to say it like that.
That's all.
So whenever I'm in a situation where everything's in the living room, which is perfect because I'll unbox the speaker, shoot all of that, and then just leave them there for a week, and like the system's on for like 8-10 hours a day. So whatever, it's going to be a mixture of vocals and like whatever shows my wife is watching, reality shows, news shows, whatever. And then like I might toss on a movie, and then I'll sit down like a week or two into it and be like, okay, these have probably been used enough for other people's like comfort, right? Like because I really don't care. Like I will just start, just banging them out, right? Like because that's usually playing some techno.
I think you just want to play them loud. I think that it's just your excuse to just play them loud. You're like, I'm breaking them in.
I'm reviewing the speaker, babe. What do you mean? Does it need to be this loud?
I have to.
I have to. This is what I'm working.
I've had people ask me like, what do you like? How do you recommend breaking in the speaker? And I just say, play some music to them.
Just use them, yeah.
I mean, there's no scientific method. It's not like you got to play, at a certain volume for X amount of hours before you really crank them up. Just let it rip.
Well,
and I've never had a speaker like, start smoking when I pull it out of the box and I crank it up ever.
I will say
Does that even happen?
I remember
That's what
JL
I'm
used to
saying,
say. JL used to say something about like to excite the speaker. I don't know, like play the test tone at FS at resonance and excite it for so long just to make sure or something. And this was a while back.
I'm over here apologizing to speakers. Aaron's over there exciting speakers.
He's exciting it so he can impregnate the spiders.
He's yes, because
his hand in the blowhole or something.
He's from JL. Look, he's got his JL. First it was a Best Buy shirt, not the JL Audio shirt.
I've had this shirt for 10 years now. Can you believe that? I bought it huge and it still fits. That's right. That's what you do, ladies and gentlemen. You buy a shirt for you to grow into.
There it is.
And spandex pants. Spanx.
There you go.
Kanga said a while back, can you guys speak to something that you can hear that's not showing in measurements? And this is on topic because I think what's happening is a lot of times, when's the last time you measured your hearing or your preference or things like that? So I think those things are likely to have some shifts.
Yep.
So how well you can hear, what you prefer.
Time, yeah.
So
different ears hear different frequencies.
I think that's more likely to change than the speaker sound.
Yeah, especially like if you listen to a speaker at a high volume for a long time. I mean, my ears it feels like they're just getting stuffy. It's weird.
Yeah, I take a lot of care, especially when I'm DJing. Like when people come to the booth area, like when I was doing the whatever at the ski resort, and he's like, "Hey, it's not loud up here." I'm like, "No, dude. I have a volume control on my booth monitor because that's like right in my ear. So I turn it off. Like because most PAs are fully directional. So if they're over like 4 or 5 feet away, their dispersion 75 degrees, straight ahead. So I'm not hearing anything. Unless I have my personal monitor here, which also means if you're ever at a party and the DJ doesn't have a personal monitor, they have no idea what they're doing. Yeah,
there you go.
Probably a bit of sign of a bad DJ. But anyway, I keep that pretty low. And even here, when I do my stream, I have IEMs and it's low. It's low. I'm hearing everything in my headphones. Like Joe's always making fun. He's like, I'm bumping it harder than Techno Dad is. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to blow out my ears.
Well, you can tell when somebody's DJing and somebody's just like,
yeah,
like you're listening at a low volume, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
What does high volume look like?
Well, he's just like
I think
the
cool part about DJing at events that have like a big sound system, when I have both songs up and I take my headphones off, I'm just listening to the difference in vibrations. Right. And I can kind of hear what's happening, but it's mostly if I like adjust one song, the vibrations will change. And I'm like, oh, nope, got to put it back. Dude. And then it all like vibe or like vibrate like in what is it? In unison. Yeah.
Yeah. You're like Daredevil then. You see via vibration. You see sound.
Yeah. Especially on that fungus.
Hey, I need to go check out Daredevil now that I have this OLED. Maybe I can see something for once.
Look.
Turns on the shroom volume and lower the speaker. They need to get on your
just tripped out.
Oh, it's funny.
Lambo. FOMO in the house talking about Lambos again.
FOMO, thank you for the super chat, man. Appreciate it.
Spandex YouTubers.
Logan Paul.
Yeah. My favorite spandex. Oh, you know what's interesting? Have you heard of these hot tub streamers on Twitch?
What?
Yeah, so just girls in hot tub just writing people's names on like floaties and stuff and just changing bikinis or whatever. And I used to use this thing where I would it says email all your subscribers. So I would email my subscribers, hey, here is a link to the unblocked, unmuted stream if you guys want to see the replay. And due to, and I used to use it every week, but that function was removed because these hot tub streamers are telling everybody, hey, on in an hour, make sure you're there. And there's like 7,000 or 8,000 people watching and doing silly stuff. And they're just making tens of thousands of dollars every day. They're like, if you gift 5 subs, they write your name on their arm or whatever, or on the floaty or something. And they just do it. They're just making money hand over fist, just sitting in a bikini talking for hours.
I feel bad for Tim right now because he's gonna have to try to edit this to say what breaks in your speakers, your ears, or both, and you're talking about
the hot
tubs.
Hot tub HiFi.
I love it. That's hilarious.
Yes, HiFi Summit coming up 24th, 28th. So to answer the question, I think it's your ears mostly. Maybe a tiny bit of your speakers, but probably not audible. It's more like, your phone has that nighttime mode where the screen turns yellow, turns like the blue light filter.
Right.
When it first happens, you're like, what? Everything turned yellow, right? But then after a while, you get used to it, and then everything that yellow now looks white to you. And then when it turns back to normal, you're like, whoa, everything's blue again. So it's one of those things. Your eyes take time to adjust. Your ears take time to adjust. And I think that's most of it. And so as a reviewer, I think it's important to know that. Because then you might start attributing it to the actual speaker itself or break-in or other things where it's not. So that's where I'm at with that. I don't know if you guys agree or not.
I'll go with that.
Yeah, I do. I've never.
I notice it all the time. you know, I deal with it when mixing music because I know these KRKs aren't flat, but I know what I can do to make them translate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just knowing your equipment, your studio monitors and your equipment. So I know that like after 18,000 hertz, like I can't hear that shit.
Your equipment.
Equipment impregnate spiders and vibrations.
Wow.
How to reset your ears when hearing different speakers, just wondering.
Yeah, there's this part right here on your head. I think it's your temple. And
It's right there. It's the temple.
you got to push and hold it for 5 seconds.
Mind
and then wait
meld.
until your eyes go like this.
Like a reboot.
And then let off.
Is there something
know,
like
man.
that? Is there
No, I
something
really
like
don't
this
know.
that you can do? Because you know when you're
Boys.
smelling lots of different things, they give you coffee
Yeah.
to reset it,
Your palate. Yeah.
Pink
Yeah,
noise.
to reset your palate. Yeah.
and then you can go and smell
Pink
more
noise.
things.
Or just how about go outside and don't listen to
Yeah,
anything.
just take a-
There you
just take
go.
a break.
Take
That's
a
a good
break.
one.
Yeah.
Take a break.
Beach.
No,
Go.
no, and no. Reggie. Oh, I can't wait for the after show.
We missed the
Red-
no.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, 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 and no.
no, no, and no. Reggie, we love Reggie.
Oh.
I
What
think
else?
this is
Any-
about the resetting your ears.
got a headache.
But yeah,
Hold on.
I like
gotta
I,
reset
I,
my ears.
I would go sound sorbet, Anthony. Awesome.
Sorbet.
I would just go outside and just stop listening to the music or
Listen to
speakers or
nothing, or how about listen to real instruments if you can, and listen to if you can hear somebody singing, and then you know, okay, that's how a
about-
human voice sounds. That's how a real guitar sounds. Maybe that's helpful. I don't know.
How about
Interesting
listen
question.
to your heart? Listen to your heart
when it's calling for you.
Yeah.
Listen to your heart.
I like this. I love this guy.
You gonna join in, Michael, or what?
There's
Nah,
nothing
man, I'm good.
else you can do. I don't know where you're going. And
That's
I
gonna be
don't
the
know
thumbnail right there.
why.
Tim, grab that thumbnail, buddy.
Oh man, I love that song. Now I'm gonna go listen to that song right now.
Oh,
Listen to
mercy.
your heart. Hey,
Um,
I got a question. Serious question while I'm
Let's
thinking
go.
about it. Serious
Let's
but
go.
funny question. When you sing, this is something I've wondered because I'll catch myself doing it. Like if I'm singing along to a song, I'll never sing low notes unless like I'm like trying to make fun of or mock a song or something.
Mhm.
My regular singing is always like like through my nose. So think about it. Next time you're singing, take note of your singing voice.
What is that called when you're singing in the head,
Head voice.
Shauna?
Like
Head voice.
Head voice.
Head voice. What is that called?
Yeah, chest voice.
Falsetto.
Falsetto. He's on that falsetto. Yeah.
Yeah.
like a
Kanga
fake.
Empire. Man, your tweeters exploded when they arrived to you.
Hey, put some bass in your voice.
Put some bass in your voice, ladies.
Put some bass in your.
bass
Say
in
it with
your-
your chest.
Say it with your chest.
Hey, Kanga brought up something very interesting in an actual question. So let's try it, shall we?
If Kanga wears underoos, does that make Kanga a kangaroo?
Kangaroos. That was awesome. That was awesome. Okay, so
Okay.
for a height channel, bookshelf speaker or an Atmos specific.
Oh God, here we
bookshelf
go.
speaker.
Here we go.
So-
we already hashed
All right,
this
well,
out,
put
man.
the gloves on. Let's watch.
We were talking about stuff
No,
that's
no, no, no,
mounted to the ceiling or up firing.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
No, bookshelf.
What's the
So
question?
slanted
Okay.
bookshelf or a standard bookshelf, like the SVS Prime Elevation speaker
I'd-
with the
I'd
with the
rather have a
slanted bevel.
slanted. Yeah, I'd rather have a slanted. Because I mean, if you mount them, especially if you mount them up high, and I think that's the point of height channels. They can be.
Well, I mean,
mounted.
couldn't you just get a mount that swivels or
Yeah,
tilts?
yeah.
right?
I mean, that would do the same thing. I don't think, but it's easier to mount the other one because it already has a mount flat up against your wall versus buying $70 bookshelf mounts. And then what I ran into a long time ago is when you angle, especially a heavy bookshelf speaker, they technically literally want you to drill and put 2 screws, or
Right
4
into
screws
the
daggone
speaker. Yeah.
It's usually got a clamp on the bottom, and
Mhm.
it's like, man, I don't know if I trust just the clamp. And so they want you to screw into it. And I'm like, who's going to do that? You know, that's crazy. So I think the built-in slant is a better design for that application, but I think both of them will sound just fine.
But what if the speaker is better? The bookshelf speaker is just
That's
a
what I'm
better
saying. Yeah. I mean, if you want to do that, it's gonna require more. What do you call it? Like, oh golly, what am I thinking? It's more work to do that than to put a drywall anchor in the wall and just
Mhm.
slap a an angled height channel speaker on the wall.
So it's more of a practicality thing
I think it's
than
just
anything,
convenient,
because
easier.
a bookshelf speaker, typical bookshelf, is going to be bigger, and then it's not going to mount flush, so you're going to have a mount,
Yep.
and then the angles, it's going to be down pretty far.
Yep.
Right.
And it's going to stick out away from the wall quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know, I had 35-pound bookshelf speakers that were mounted up there. They were RB 35s clips, and then I had some RB 61 version 2s.
Screwed directly into the drywall only, right?
Yeah, no, I had those in studs. Yeah, I definitely made sure those are in studs.
So, you know what's interesting? I have those SVS elevation speakers.
Yep.
And so they have the angle. So check this out. You think, okay, so the angle's good. How can I get this? Angle's good. So here's the woofer. Here's the woofer down here, and then the tweeter up here, right? And if I'm sitting over here, when you do a measurement of those, you know where the worst place is? Above the tweeter. Well, I mean, for most bookshelf speakers, being above the tweeter is the worst place. The angle is putting you kind of in the worst place. It's counterintuitive. For the most part, you want to be like in between the tweeter and the woofer, right? That's where the angle that you want. And so it's kind of interesting that it sounds like it seems like it would be optimal, but kind of not.
I've never actually
careful
used any, so
it's better to be below the woofer, actually, if you had to choose between the two.
Because I'm thinking about doing a little upgrade, because the last time that I measured with, what is it called? Anthem room correction, right? The high channels, there was a big boost in all of those high channels. Now, I don't know if that's because of the speaker or just its proximity to the ceiling, which I think is probably what's causing that big boost. It was like a big boost above 10K. Like, I was just like, wow, why is this here? So I'm thinking about getting something like this. Boom.
I knew it was going to be some focals.
Yeah. But look at this. 80 hertz to 28, right?
Okay.
8 ohm, 88 dB, right? 4-inch woofer, 1-inch aluminum magnesium tweeter. And the best part is it's got a built-in mounting system already.
You should have put those up instead of those Avantones.
that's awesome.
Imagine those instead of the Avantones.
You need 11 of them, though. That'd get quite expensive.
No, dude, I need 16 of them for in here. Or 15.
You can make it happen.
15.
Okay, I was thinking you had 11.
Oh,
Don't cheap out.
I actually got a new AV receiver. Yeah.
Don't cheap out.
Don't cheap out.
Yeah. I actually got a new speaker or a new receiver on the way, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, like I think those focals would do better than the SVS, just because it's just a better overall better made speaker, and then the fact that it has a mounting solution built in.
I think
like
the concentric would be the best.
You know what? It probably would be. It probably would be. Andrew Jones.
Andrew Jones makes Andrew Jones. That's what we need. There it is.
Jones.
You just made them. You just made them a bunch of money. Did we get a kickback or anything? That's what you need.
Yeah.
ELAC ceiling speakers, concentric. You already have all the stuff. Just use it.
Look, Andrew, make it easily mountable, like this kind of a thing. Boom. Yep. Done. And then you can do instead of this little tiny 4-inch, you can do a 5 1/4 inch. Or you already have a 4-inch and in there, so yeah, you can
there
make
it is.
it.
Chris Walker, let's make it happen. I want to commission. I don't know. What do you get?
I don't know. Just
royalties. There you go.
Royalties.
Send me some so I can check it out.
16 of them.
Make a video about it. 16 of them. No, not that many. True Voice of Reason. Yes, I did stream this weekend. I got one more stream this weekend. This
is probably a terrible question to put up so late.
Didn't we do that already last week?
Did we? I don't know. Did we? I feel like we may have done that at some point.
Yeah, we can always just hit it quick. That didn't sound right.
Easy.
That didn't sound.
Yeah.
What's your favorite speaker you heard, either in review or not? Well, of course, the latest speaker that you reviewed. Isn't that how YouTube reviewers go? Whatever you're reviewing at the moment is the best.
The best.
I've actually been very, very surprised about these focals over everything I've had in the living room.
So which ones do you have specifically?
I have the Aria 926, which is a $4,000 pair. I have the Coras in house. I still need to unbox them and shoot it, and I got to do that in the next 3 weeks. but those are like 2,000 a pair. So I'm curious.
I like
to
the
see.
Coras when we heard it. So
Yeah, dude, those sounded great, man. Even though it had those bouncy Atmos situations, like it worked out really well in that room.
hold up a second. Those Focal Cora, what is it? 926?
826
826
D.
D.
If you got the
826D.
gotta have that
Those,
D.
are those 2,000 a pair?
1,200 each, I think.
1,200? Okay, because I'm thinking here, those are around the same price as these ELACs.
Uh-oh.
That's what I'm saying. It's tough.
Uh-oh.
That's a tough one.
Okay, hold on. I know 1,395, so 1,400.
Okay, so it's still more expensive.
It's more. If you go
Okay.
with the non-D, if you go sans D, Focal Cora 826 is 1,100. So that's 22. So same price right there.
Getting very close. That's a
Yeah.
tough one.
And I have the
Focal has that look. They look pretty expensive.
And I have the cheaper one, the Focal Cora 816, so 900 each. So I'd be curious to see like how those fare, as opposed to these ELACs. Like I said, you said there's so many speakers in the price range of $2,000 for a pair.
Mhm.
It's tough, man. It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff in those prices, especially like the $500 to $1,000 range. There's tons of stuff out there. Like, I feel like you're never going to get them all tested out or reviewed.
So what's your favorite speaker? Your question.
My favorite speaker so far is the Dutch and Dutch 8C. I mean, that
98.
one's pretty easy. Yeah, that one's pretty easy. But I think like as far as just like sound goes, or not sound, but everything, like the complete package, like, because I'm thinking more in terms of, okay, it may not have been like the greatest speaker you've ever heard, but it's got all these other things going for it. And I know you guys have tested and reviewed a whole lot more than I have. So I was kind of curious what you guys have come across, that you've really, really liked.
Well, if those are your favorites, so is that as hyped up as you could possibly be in a video? Because if those are your favorite, if I go and watch that video, that's like the pinnacle of how hyped up you can possibly be about speakers.
But I don't know what's going to be better than that at some point in the future. So I'm setting a cap on it.
I see.
Yeah.
So
I
this
see.
Friday, I get a chance to hear for the first time some Wisdom audio and a Trinoff setup. I'm flying up to Georgia, so I'll be doing a home theater tour up there. So I'm curious because to me, that's kind of that law of diminishing return. I mean, this is a lot of money. You're talking $10,000 per speaker. You're talking about a $16,000 processor. So honestly, I'm excited, to hear it.
I'm excited just to hear Michael say $1,000, because otherwise $16,000.
That's a lot of money, dude.
Yeah, right.
Seriously, but it's going to be a great time, man. And then I'll be able to go over to Atlanta Home Theater and check out. They basically bought a mansion and set up a bunch of home theaters inside the mansion. So I'll make a video on that. So
That's crazy.
should be fun. So I don't know. So I'll be able to hear probably a bunch of different systems this weekend, stuff that I've never heard. And who knows, maybe my favorite speaker will change after that. I don't know.
Okay, so if we don't answer with a specific speaker, people are going to be pissed because Tim's going to make a video that's going to say, what's your favorite speaker you've ever reviewed or something like that. And then we're here and we're not saying specifics.
And again, I won't qualify. I'm not saying it has to be the best sounding, but just for whatever reason you liked it. It was the greatest looking or just easy to fit into your room, whatever.
No.
Okay, so I haven't put these ELACs on the speaker leaderboard. So let's just say that. But at the very top of my speaker leaderboard, which I do this, I do rank speakers. And so at the very top are these Larson 4.2s. And they are not the flattest speakers, frequency response wise. It's just that I like what they do, that you're supposed to put them up against the wall, that they're angled. I feel like they took into consideration that people are not pulling out the speakers in front, 3 feet away from the walls or whatever. Right. And so to me, those are the best sounding without DSP, because we're talking about DSP a lot and that usually fixes the bass. Whereas these, it kind of gets the bass right from the beginning. So those are my favorite speakers right now. I would love to see a similar design, but from another manufacturer where it's meant to be up against the wall and they've accounted for whatever effects that has. So that's mine. Larson 4.2s. Go ahead. Anybody else want to say a specific favorite?
Okay, I'll go. And to Croissant's point here, he says millions of better speakers, but the ones I get to listen to in my theater are always going to win over anything I don't have.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
So to that
Croissant, you
point,
got to be on. He's just so. He's got the white hair.
He's got wisdom, man.
Yes.
he does.
Got wisdom.
So
He's
to
like
that
Raiden.
point, the best speakers I've ever heard are the ones that are coming in a couple of months.
There you go.
That's shot.
have,
you.
have you heard him though? Have you heard him?
I've heard them at shows.
Okay.
I've heard them at shows. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
And
they
you're
are not-
excited. You're pumped for those.
They are not cheap. I am getting a full 10 speaker setup, and it is not cheap. Not cheap.
They're the best sounding speakers without you even reviewing them. Like even in your mind, they're already the best.
Yeah,
See?
like I don't like
It's
they're
so wrong.
gonna be awesome. And then like, I mean, not only like just the materials being used, the look, the finish. Like I made a little hint to white speakers in my ELAC video. Like, yeah, oh man. And then just they do this thing where there's no parallel sides in the cabinet, so there's no resonances. Like just the technology involved with all this stuff is just ridiculous. And then I've always wanted them, so
You're gonna get them.
like I don't care. I don't care if they don't
Treat
measure
yourself.
flat. I would be surprised if they were pretty close. Maybe
I would
few
imagine they're
tweaks
within reason. Yeah, I would imagine
Yeah.
they're within reason.
You don't even care. It's like
I don't-
Aaron in the Macintosh. It's like I
Yeah,
don't care.
no, I
I
don't
think
care.
those look super cool,
I just
and that's
want 'em.
it.
I just want a pair of 1.2 kWs just sitting on my bookshelf, just so I don't even have to have them hooked up, dude.
Just
So
turn it
I
on
turn
just
them
to see
on.
the blue.
Just
That's
turn
it.
them on, put an RCA input into them, just so I can see the meters going. I'm good.
Oh man, and like yeah, dude, and like I think I'm going big with the new 83-inch OLED. So there's a lot of changes happening. So I'm
Nice.
pretty stoked for.
Nice upgrade, Michael.
Yeah.
Do you wanna throw out yours before we end this?
Yeah, I mean, I've shared it many times in my videos. Probably, literally, the best home theater, because that's pretty much what I focus on. Best home theater I've heard by far. It had 5 JTR 212 RTs. It's a 3-way tower, dual 12-inch drivers. It's got a coaxial driver in the middle, so it's like an MTM kind of configuration, but in a tower. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, music. I mean, we listened for
Ridiculous.
3 hours straight in music and movie demos, and I'm just like grinning ear to ear. Like it was phenomenal.
And
Absolutely.
those
phenomenal.
measure well too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
So, I mean, I've just been very, very impressed with JTR. Pretty much
I'd
every
like to-
system that I've heard.
I
I'd
got
like
to
to
hear
hear
some of
some.
their stuff in to test out. I'll throw this one in too. The Bose 901 gets a lot of hate,
Yeah.
and that was one of those ones that I was curious about. So I luckily somebody found me a pair and they sent them to me, and then I sold them off after that. But as far as accuracy goes, it's terrible. But they do
Right.
some crazy
sound good.
things as far as like sound stage, where you put them up next to a wall. They've got 8 speakers rear firing, and they just throw the
Right.
image all over the place. There's no focus to the imaging. I mean, it's I don't know. Technically, it's a terrible speaker,
But
but
kind of like 3D sound, maybe.
yes, yeah.
Technically, it's a terrible speaker.
Technically, it's a terrible
but-
speaker, but it does some crazy stuff that's just so different from the norm of trying to achieve just a standard stereo that it's like, oh, this is cool. Like I get it, I get it. So
At least it's something different.
yeah,
Sometimes it's just that when you're reviewing these speakers, sometimes like if something does something amazing, it doesn't even have to be accurate. It's just like, wow, that's cool.
yeah,
It's like how does it make you feel when you're listening to that
Yeah,
song
exactly.
versus is it accurate?
right.
Right. It
Yeah.
wasn't like when I was getting that demo of that $900,000 Wisdom Audio
Yeah.
13.6.8. I wasn't like, hey, let me hook up my REW real quick.
Yeah,
Like no,
Right.
it sounded amazing.
yeah,
That wasn't the
good
last
enough.
thing on my mind was that accurate?
So bass. A lot of times when you have a lot of bass and deep bass, it's amazing. It's something that you're impressed with. Loudness. So if it can get loud and super clean, no distortion, and loud and not annoying, that's awesome too.
Yeah.
And then
And
and then
good-
spatial.
yeah. So that's the thing. Like those two things you just said, the 901 are terrible at. They don't have a lot of bass.
Right.
They have a lot of distortion.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the only thing that they do is just the sound stage is just so freaking weird. It's so different that you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like I don't know how to describe it, but
It's a
the
cool
tonality
effect,
of it. It's like all over the map. Like some frequencies sound like 10 dB too hot, and some are 10 dB too low, and you're just like, oh. But
So about 2 weeks ago, Chana would have really liked those speakers.
there you go.
Yes.
Yes,
He'd
he'd have been
great.
Yep. He'd have been Lucy in the sky.
Oh, mercy. Hey, before we wrap up, on a serious note, have you guys seen this? Oh, not that. That's not
what is that? It's a color
your hue
color
lighting.
wheel?
Yeah, no, this right here.
I have seen one of those.
I
What is
bumped
that?
it.
Is it good? It's on Amazon, right?
Dude, it's fantastic.
Without
Warning.
remorse. Yeah.
Check that out, guys. I listened to it on headphones, and it has some pretty deep bass in it in the headphones. So I'm curious to hear it in the home theater. So, but definitely.
Oh,
check
I
it
see.
out if
You're
you
talking
like
about the audio.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I like the movie too, but I like war movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always a.
I mean, like, what do you call it?
SWAT
The
team.
Well, that's a Tom Clancy thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
Tom
that's
Clancy,
awesome.
Yeah.
So we watched that one, and then the new Guy Ritchie film. We watched that in the same weekend, and out of the two, we both liked the Guy Ritchie a little bit.
Guy Ritchie.
A little.
What was that?
With Jason Statham.
Madonna.
Yes, he was. Guy Ritchie, Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch.
Snatch, yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't do. It wasn't. No, I'm thinking of Snatch. I was going to say Fight Club, but I'm thinking of Snatch.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. God, what is it called?
I watched Fast and Furious 7.
I like all the Fast and Furious. I'm
Dude,
ready.
I like them all. I don't.
Fast 9, man. It's
I'm
coming
there
out.
for all of them. I don't care that it's stupid, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Dudes are driving from one building to another in Dubai. Like, I don't care.
Hey,
I'm there
speaking
for
of that though, I
You
watched
looked under my hood?
I watched a documentary this weekend when we were on vacation, and it was on the Furious franchise, and they were talking about how in Fast 5, I guess just Fast 5, where they had the bank vault scene.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
dragged that vault. That was like legit.
Yeah.
Like seriously, like they.
I think I've seen what you're talking about because they
That
they
is
broke
pretty
it. Like
cool.
the stunt guys broke it down, and I was like, wow, I just assumed that it was
Yeah,
mostly
no.
CGI or something.
They literally was dragging out. Now the one where it kind of rolls
Slinging it around.
the corner and it busts through the
Mhm.
windows and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
That was kind of like a bank vault that was catapulted into it.
Yes.
Like it had a track. So that was kind of,
How they shot
the
that.
real deal. But like most of it was like the real deal. I was like, that's pretty cool.
It's called Wrath of Man. It's called
Okay.
Wrath of Man.
Oh, I've seen that
That's
advertised. I want to see that.
Yeah,
I like
it's a
it
good-
in
that's definitely a good one. And Angela says that Jason Statham plays the same character in all of
That's
the movies.
fine with me. I don't care. I'm there for it. That's exactly why I bought the ticket.
Oh, and Tomas says Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman is great. That is actually a great film too.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, what do we got going on? Are we done?
Handsome.
Yeah,
Bob.
we're done.
We're at a minute or hour 13.
All right.
See you guys in the after show.
That's
Bye.
right, ladies. Yep. Bye. Wait, hold on.
Bye. Imagine you just click off.
No, see ya.
What are you doing?
All right, everybody. So, the after show is about to start. If you want to be part of the after show where we do a video chat with you all in the chat. So we're all in the chat, as it were. Yes, patreon.com/daily HiFi. And don't just don't watch Aaron, whatever he's doing. He says he's going to do something bad. Anyway, yes, thank you all for being here. Again, we do this every Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you are new watching live or on the replay, make sure you subscribe up to the Daily Hi-Fi YouTube channel. And of course, become a patron. Help us out. Help us help you. Really is just the situation. But yeah, on behalf of myself, Aaron, Joe, and Mike, we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
See you
Later.